Stargate 1994. Stargate is a 1994 science fiction adventure film directed and co-written by Roland Emmerich. The film is the first entry in the Stargate media franchise. The plot centers on the premise of a Stargate, an ancient ring-shaped device that creates a wormhole, allowing travel to a similar device elsewhere in the universe. The film's central plot explores the theory that extraterrestrial beings are influencing human civilization. Originally released in theaters on October 28, 1994, by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM, the film received mixed reviews, with its atmosphere, story, characters, and graphic content both praised and criticized. The film grossed $196.6 million worldwide against a production budget of $55 million. Although Stargate marks the beginning of the Stargate saga, it was actually intended to be the first in a trilogy of films with a different plot direction than the series would follow. However, it fell through due to Devlin and Emmerich's other project, Independence Day, in the works. Plot. The film begins in 800 BC, in a small village in the North African desert. It's nighttime, and the villagers are asleep, until they are awakened by a thunderous noise caused by an alien spacecraft landing a few hundred meters away, emitting a blinding light. Everyone flees, except for a young man who, to satisfy his curiosity, approaches the light, and a blinding flash descends upon him. In 1928, Professor Langford's team of archaeologists discovered a strange ring-shaped metallic artifact in Giza, covered by protective slabs with writing. While the professor analyzed the slabs, his daughter browsed among the other discovered objects and picked up a golden pendant that caught her eye. Years later, in 1994, Dr. Jackson, a linguist giving a lecture on Egyptian writing, received a visit from Dr. Langford, who proposed a translation of some ancient Egyptian tablets. It should be noted that Dr. Langford is the daughter of that archaeologist from 1928. Dr. Jackson was being humiliated at his conference where he was presenting his discoveries, only for it all to seem so absurd that by the end of the conference, he was left unemployed and nearly ostracized by the scientific community because his discoveries were considered absurd theories that went against science. Fortunately for him, Dr. Langford arrived and proposed that he work with her on a secret government project. Dr. Jackson is sent to a military facility on Creek Mountain, Colorado, where he is shown some enormous protective slabs. On a nearby blackboard, there is a translation of some of the symbols, which he quickly corrects. It takes him 2 weeks to translate the other symbols until he realizes they are not symbols but constellations that mark a point in the universe. Unexpectedly, his gaze falls upon the front page of a newspaper, Universe Today, which publishes a story about the constellation of Orion up close. He then realizes that one of the symbols represents the constellation and that, therefore, they are all symbols of constellations. It was then that someone mentioned the device, since what Dr. Jackson mentioned was not in that device, to which Dr. Jackson had no choice but to ask, dismayed, what device they were referring to, since for him all of this was just stones with the Egyptian cosmogony, unlike what he was accused of by the scientific community of being very fanciful in his theories. General West and the rest of the military decide to show him what lies beneath the protective slabs. Thanks to Dr. Jackson, they manage to activate the Stargate and establish a wormhole with the other side of the known universe. A group of military personnel, led by Colonel O'Neill and accompanied by Dr. Jackson, cross the gate to explore what lies beyond. Upon crossing the gate, they arrive at a seemingly deserted world. The Stargate on that side is inside a temple next to a large pyramid. But upon arriving, Dr. Jackson admits he can't bring them back to Earth. The military gets angry with him and bullies him a bit by throwing his things from the camp tent into the desert. Jackson goes to collect his things from the sand and sees a creature resembling a camel, but with more hair. When Colonel O'Neill returns and asks about Jackson, the soldiers don't know what to say, so they search for him. When they find him with the creature, they warn him to stay away, but he says it's not dangerous because it has leashes, a symbol that it's domesticated. The creature gets scared and drags Jackson along, accidentally encountering a civilization of prehistoric humans working a mine. Some of the men from the expedition go to Nagata, the people's village, and befriend them. Dr. Jackson is offered Shayuri, the chief's daughter, as a wife. Jackson, alone with Shayuri, rejects her gift and focuses on researching the symbols he needs to return to Earth. But language is a major problem, in addition to the censorship evident in that tribe, since what he asks seems to be taboo. But Sayuri, captivated by Jackson, understands a little of what he's looking for and leads him to a cave where he discovers the history of that world. Thousands of years ago, a dying alien arrived on Earth, took a human as a host, and used its technology to proclaim himself god of those primitive humans. Eventually, there was an uprising on Earth, Ra fled, and the Stargate was buried. Meanwhile, at the base camp next to the Stargate, a pyramid-shaped ship has landed, and the Earthlings have been captured by strange animal-headed beings. When the others return from the village and see the ship, they try to find out what's going on and are captured as well. O'Neill and Jackson are taken before the man who seems to be in charge, the Egyptian god Ra. Several ships can be seen attacking the villagers' town from the air, destroying it and the lives of several people. The village chief says that Ra has punished them, that they should never have helped the strangers. But on the other hand, Sayuri tells the young people that Jackson has told her the story of their origin, and that they must fight to free themselves from Ra's yoke and be free, so she instills a revolutionary movement against her father's idea. Jackson and O'Neill are not only captured by Ra, but he also discovers the true plans of the military presence, which was to eliminate that side of the portal by carrying a nuclear bomb, still hidden from his men, as only he knew of its existence. Ra accuses the newcomers of wanting to destroy them and tells them that he was the one who created their civilization, that is, that of Earth. He is surprised by the knowledge they have acquired in his absence and tells them that they should never have opened the portal again, as he would send the same bomb they intended to eliminate it with back to them, but with a load of minerals that would increase its destructive power 100 times. O'Neill attempts to kill Ra, and in the scuffle, Dr. Jackson is killed. Jackson is resurrected using alien technology. When Jackson is revived, Ra tells him that he chose his race because their bodies are easy to repair. To stay alive, Ra urges him to kill his captured comrades during a public ceremony. At this point, among the gathered crowd, Jackson spots some of Nagata's youth, who are carrying weapons from the Earthling soldiers. A shootout ensues, which they use to escape and organize an attack against the false god. In a plan of attack, hidden as villagers in a caravan carrying mineral as an offering to Ra, the soldiers and some of the young men head to Ra's palace ship. Along the way, to avoid being discovered, O'Neill kills one of Ra's guards. Here Jackson takes the opportunity to remove the blindfold from the villagers, and tells them that their gods are only men and that they must free themselves. Upon removing the animal-shaped helmet, the villagers discover that they have been enslaved not by gods but by men like themselves, which encourages them to start the revolt. Once inside the pyramid, the Earthlings begin attacking Ra's guards. When they find themselves under siege, all the other villagers appear armed with sticks and stones, led by the village chief. Vastly outnumbering the guards, they manage to defeat them. Seeing this, Ra activates the ship to flee. In the meantime, Ra's fight with Jackson. Ra tries to kill Jackson, but Sayuri intervenes, leaving her mortally wounded. But Jackson remembers his resurrection and teleports back to the ship to revive his beautiful, now wife. Everything goes well. Sayuri revives just as Jackson did before, then he returns with O'Neill to deactivate the bomb, but they discover that the bomb is apparently blocked and once activated, it is only expected to explode irremediably. Running out of time and being at the end of their existence, and with Ra moving away from the planet, the two of them come up with the idea of simultaneously teleporting the bomb to the ship, which is in the stratosphere, far away where it could harm the planet if it exploded. So they manage to teleport a nuclear bomb to the pyramid ship, which explodes in the sky to the joy of everyone present. Eventually, all the surviving Earthlings return to Earth, except for Dr. Jackson, who prefers to stay with his now wife Sayuri. Comments. Stargate is a science fiction franchise created in 1994 by Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich with Stargate. It consists of the novel Stargate, by Dean Devlin, and its film version, adapted and brought to the big screen in 1994 by Roland Emmerich and other novels, 3 television series, Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis and Stargate Universe, and an animated series, Stargate Infinity, that is not considered canon. During test screenings of the film, the press and audiences felt that Ra's character didn't look alien enough, which could confuse people once the film was released. This led the producers to add CGI effects to the characters' eyes during post-production, resulting in Ra's iconic stare. In an interview with Variety, Roland Emmerich stated that the idea for developing the film came after watching a 1970 documentary titled Chariots of the Gods, a film based on a book by Eric von Daniken that theorizes that the first human civilizations were developed by aliens. Stargate was an absolutely pioneering film in one very specific respect. The 1994 film was the first in cinematic history to have its own website, a milestone that was unthinkable until then and was seen as a groundbreaking commercial tactic. The website couldn't play trailers, as it didn't support video files, but it could display several images from the shoot, as well as press releases and a synopsis written by screenwriter Dean Devlin. J. Davidson started causing problems even before signing on for the film, demanding a hefty salary of $1 million. Once the actor finally accepted the role, Davidson continued to make the director's life miserable. Davidson had to use posters to read his lines, as he didn't bother to memorize the script. Davidson also made a scene on his last day of filming. Apparently, the actor hated having to wear his character's elaborate costumes so much that when he finished filming his scenes, he stripped down completely and paraded around the set naked. Some of the film's most spectacular shots feature an impressive number of extras, creating completely overwhelming images. However, many of the background characters were not played by actors or actresses, but were brought to life using mannequins. James Spader never developed any affection for the film. In an interview with the Globe and Mail, the actor confessed that he made the film for the money and that the terrible script caught his attention. Spader spoke about why he doesn't regret taking the role. Acting, for me, is a passion, but it's also a job, and I've always seen it as such. I have a certain textbook view of acting. There's no shame in taking a movie because you need fucking money. That's all from me. I look forward to your comments. Don't forget to like or dislike. Bye.